Alright, these notes are going to be showing you how to multiply and divide rational expressions. So look at our rules. We're going to check to see if we can factor anything. Then we're going to remember that only like binomials can cancel out. If dividing, don't forget to flip and switch what is after the division sign. Let's look at some examples. We're given the following functions. F of x is equal to x squared plus 4x, and g of x is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 8. So we're going to make a new function using division. So f of x is x squared plus 4x, and g of x. And our job is to simplify this as much as possible. So getting this far is like 1 out of 4 points. So we're going to factor. You have to be really good with factoring in this unit. So we're going to pull out a GCF of x. And on the bottom, we're going to ask ourselves what multiplies to give us negative 8, but has a difference of 2. So positive 4 and negative 2. All right, we're looking for like factors. So x plus 4 over x plus 4. If we line up our like factors, all right, that's equal to 1. So that means our simplified answer is going to be x over x minus 2. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be factoring and crossing out common factors today. Now remember, we can't just cross out the x's. This entire factor. So here's a math no-no. It's always going to give you the wrong answer. All right, it doesn't work with numbers. It doesn't work with variables. And this is what we're looking for. We want common factors. All right, so be careful because this is a very common mistake and it's wrong every single time. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to divide this first polynomial by our second polynomial. All right, in that first one, I notice I've got some like terms here that I'm going to add before I can factor. I'm going to factor my numerator and factor to my denominator. All right, so let's factor the numerator. What multiplies to give you 6 but adds to give you 7? So 6 and 1. So when I factor this, I'm going to rewrite that middle term. Group, pull out my GCF. So we're going to get 3x plus 1 over x plus 2. All right, so I'm going to write that over here. All right, on the denominator, let's go back and factor that denominator. I see I have a 5x in common. So that leaves me with 3x plus 1. All right, so common factors are my 3x plus 1s. And then it leaves me with x plus 2 over 5x. So that's equal to 1. So my final answer is x plus 2 over 5x. All right, we're going to factor. So it multiplies to give you 2, but adds to give you negative 3. So what? Negative 2 and negative 1. All right, so let's factor that numerator, and then we'll factor the denominator. All right, so I'm going to rewrite my middle term to minus 2ab plus negative 1ab plus b squared. Group the first two, group the second two. Pull out a 2a. Pull out a negative 1. b, negative 1b. So that's going to leave me with 2a minus b, a minus b. Alright, so I factor the numerator. Let's factor the denominator. That's a difference of squares. So that's going to be a plus b, a minus b. Well, here are my common factors, so my final answer is going to be 2a minus b over a plus b. All right, you might be tempted to cross out those b's. Don't, because it doesn't work. So there's my final answer. All right, continuing the factor, which is all about being good in factoring here. Oh, wait, this one we don't have any factor. We have some monomials to clean up. So let's multiply the 14 and the 2 and get 28. Let's get our a's together. I've got 2 and 2 make 4. My b's, 4 and 2 make 6. On the bottom, 2 times 7 is 14, a to the third b. All right, continuing to simplify. 14 goes into 28 twice. I can subtract my exponents. So a to the fourth over a to the third gives me an a up top. Here again, this is b to the first. I'm going to end up with b to the fifth up top. All right, what else do I have? All right, still multiplying. All right, I need to factor everything. Now here, I need to see how this is not in standard form. I need to flip that around. Use my commutative property. Otherwise, I'm not going to see my common factors. All right, I'm going to start factoring everything. All right, so in my first term here, I see I have a 5x. Leaves me with x minus 6. On the denominator, I need to pull out a negative 6, which leaves me with x minus 7. All right, factoring this term. What multiplies to give me 7, but adds to give me negative 8. So x minus 7, x minus 1. And they've already factored that denominator, that second denominator for me. All right, I'm looking for like terms. So let's go through it. Oh, I see I have an x minus 6 on the top and bottom. I can cross those out. I have an x minus 7 on the top and bottom. Oh, and I have an x minus 1. So that's just going to leave me with 5x over negative 6. I don't leave a negative in the denominator, so I either can pull it up top or out front. So that's my final answer. All right, more factoring. Oh, I see something I'm going to have to put in standard form, so I'll make that negative x squared plus 4. All right, let's factor everything. What multiplies to give me negative 8 and has a difference of 2? Nothing. So I leave that one alone. Nope. It does factor. It factors what? Positive 4 and negative 2. Positive 4 and negative 2. I was foreshadowing. On the bottom here, I have to pull out a negative 1, which gives me with x squared minus 4. And that's going to get factored again in a moment. All right, this is already factored for me, which is nice. Difference of squares. So I'm going to get x minus 4, x plus 4. All right, I need to factor this. So that's going to factor to x minus 2, x plus 2. All right, cross out common factors. I have an x plus 4 top and bottom. I have an x minus 2 top and bottom. And I have an x plus 2 top and bottom, which leaves me with x plus 2 on the top and negative 1, x minus 4 on the bottom. So pull the negative out front. And don't be tempted to cross out those x's. All right, this is division. So that means I'm going to have to flip and multiply. So I leave the first fraction alone. And I'm going to flip the second one. And then I can multiply. Well, now I have a common factor, so those are gone. So what does that leave me with left? I got 8x to the fourth on the top and 64x to the fourth on the bottom. Well, my x's are common, x to the fourth, so it leaves me with 8 over 64, which is going to reduce to 1/8. All right. Here again, I'm dividing, so I got to flip and multiply. So I get 4xy, 3z squared, flip. I'm going to cube this too and get 27z to the third over x to the third y squared. All right, up top, I'm going to multiply 4 times 27 and get 108. X, y, z to the third On the bottom, I've got 3 x to the third y squared z squared. All right, let's clean up. 3 goes into 108 36 times. All right, my x's. I got x to the first on the bottom and x to the third on x to the first on the top, x to the third on the bottom, which is going to be x squared in the bottom. I got y to the first, y to the second, so it leaves me with y in the bottom. And I'm going to leave me with a z up top. Alright, got to flip and multiply, and I also need to factor. I'm going to factor it as I go. This is difference of cubes. Remember, that's that pattern. It's going to be x minus the cube root of 64 is 4. I square it, opposite, multiply, and then square. Alright, on my denominator here, I'm going to pull out a 2x. I'm going to flip it, and now, so this is on the top, so I'm going to have x minus 1, x plus 1. And I'm going to have to factor. I'm going to have to pull out a 2 first, and I get z squared, sorry, x squared, plus 4x plus 16. Alright, so common factors. Oh, I get rid of that trinomial. X minus 1, x minus 1. Alright, what do I have left? I have x minus 4, x plus 1. 2x plus times 2 is 4x. And that's all I can do. So that's my final answer. You don't have to multiply them back together. You don't have to FOIL it back together. You can leave it like this. Alright. Alright, my dividing. So I'm going to have to flip this second one here. Alright, let's go ahead and factor as I go. I'm going to pull out a 2x, which leaves me with x minus 4. Alright, factoring. What multiplies to give me 4 but adds to give me negative 5. So negative 4 and negative 1. Flip over 4x squared. Alright, common factors. X plus 4, x minus 4, x minus 4, x minus 1, x minus 1. Alright, let's see what we've got and see if we're done. I've got 2x on the top, x plus 4, and a 4x squared on the bottom. Alright, so these can simplify to what? Let's see, we're going to x plus 4 on the top, 2 over 4 gives me a 2 on the bottom, and then an x. X over x squared gives me an x. So that's my final answer. Alright, let's factor. I'm multiplying, so I don't have to flip anything. I see this is the difference of cubes again. So x minus 2, x squared plus 2x plus 4. This I have to change around. I have to pull out a negative. I'm going to change this order around on this one. Alright, so I'm going to make that a negative x plus 5 to put it in standard form. Otherwise, I might not recognize my common factors. Alright, this has been factored for me. And x squared plus 2x plus 4 doesn't factor. Alright, before I'm going to have to do some, I'm going to pull out a negative 1 there. Alright, but I can go ahead and simplify this. Oh, and here. Okay, so that's going to leave me with what? X minus 5 over x plus 4. Pull out my negative 1, which leaves me with x minus 5. Now they're common, so I'm left with x plus 1 over negative 1. If I divide negative 1 into both of these, I'm going to get negative x minus 1, and that's going to be my final answer. Alright, let's also start thinking about adding and subtracting. Now, when you add and subtract, you got to have a common denominator. When you multiply and divide, you don't. But when you add and subtract, you do. So let's look at a simple example with just numbers first. So 3 and 4 have a common denominator of 12. So since I have to multiply 3 times 4 to get 12, I got to multiply my numerator times 4. So 1/3 is equal to 4/12. 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. So that means when I add these, I'm going to get 13/12. I'm going to do the same thing with variables as I do with numbers. I have to have a common denominator. So 4 and 8 have a common denominator of 8. So 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm going to multiply by 2, so I'm going to get 6x. And that's already got a denominator of 8, so I'm going to leave it as x. So now 6x minus x is 5x over 8. Same arithmetic as if it was with numbers. All right, here, what's my common denominator? Well, the common denominator between 6 and 3 is 6. So I'm going to have 6x on both because they both have an x. So I don't have to multiply anything. What do I need? Nothing. All right, I've got 3x and I want to get 6x, so that means I'm going to multiply by 2. So this becomes 4 on the top. So that ends, so I'm going to add my numerators, keep my denominators. This example, they already have common denominators, so it's going to be x minus 4. So now I just get to combine like terms for my numerator. So x and x is 2x. Negative 5 and negative 3 is negative 8. All right, let's see if we can simplify it more. So sometimes that might be our final answer. Sometimes we can simplify more. I can factor a 2 out of the numerator. Oh, look what happens. Now I have a common factor. All right, so my common factors are going to give me 1. So that means my final answer is going to be 2 here.